tell us a little bit about your strategy and specifically how you are leveraging the role of an elected official, Mayor McGill.
Thank you for your question, Abby. I'd be happy to answer that. And as far as our strategy, uh, we are looking at this inclusively. So it's inclusiveness. You know, we are certainly concerned about getting a complete count, making sure that our numbers are accurate. But above that, we are interested in community building. Fort Smith has a lot of work to do. We have a lot of potential, but it's going to take us all to make those things happen. So we're using this opportunity to build relationships, to build trust, to build community, so that we all start to depend on each other and understand that none of us can forego this alone. So in terms of leveraging Mayor McGill, Fort Smith is very fortunate to have a statesman such as Mr. McGill as our mayor. He has knowledge, he has experience, he is living, walking, breathing history. When we talk about the civil rights movements, he was there. When we talk about other things that has happened in our country, he was there. So we don't have to go to the library and pull up a book. We can go sit down with our mayor and have a conversation. And in doing that, we're building relationships. We're building trust because he's there, he's tangible, he's real. He has relationships not only in our city, in our county, across the state. He has national relationships and, to my surprise, international relationships. Just this past fall, he was invited to Berlin to speak at the 30th anniversary of the fall of the wall. Shocked me to death. I mean, I just started the position. Really? International travel? Okay. We can do that though. So just that touch of reaching out and being able to speak with people, to garner their attention, to claim their hearts, and have them hear what it is that he has to say. We can talk all day. We can talk about the numbers, we can talk about the funding, we can talk about all of that. But if we don't make it relevant, if we don't actually touch people, then we've just talked all day.
Thank you. No, that's really helpful, and um, we'll come back and dive a little deeper. I want to turn to Dr. Cole down in Sevier County and DeQueen, and have you share a little bit about why you've gotten involved and how you're leveraging really 3 different hats as an educator and as chairman of a couple of boards, what your explicit work has looked like and the strategy that's happening down in DeQueen.
Yeah, thank you, and it is a pleasure to be here. I have found out we have a 1987 graduate of DeQueen High School right there. Found that out. She said,
Yay,
"You're from
Peggy."
DeQueen?" I actually live in Sevier County. I live in a little town called Locksburg, but our main campus, I'm the chancellor of UA Cossatot, one of the UA schools, and we're in DeQueen. And I also serve as the board chair, and Steve Nipper and I had that conversation. He was board chair of the hospital in Magnolia, and I'm the chair of the new hospital. We're building a brand new hospital in Sevier County, and there's not many small communities that get to do that, and our old one had to close. We're reopening a new one in 2021. 84% of everyone in Sevier County voted yes to a sales tax. So we feel that we owe it to them to do the best we can do. And so I'm also the chair of the Rural Development Authority, which is an economic development authority in Sevier County. So if you look at education, healthcare, and economic development, you pretty much are telling the story of the census. because all of those things are impacted greatly by the census. And our college, we're leveraging our resources because anyone that works at UA Cossatot, that's why we were just talking, we're Rotarians up here. You will find Rotarians and Lions Club members and volunteers all throughout our 200 employees because we believe in a servant heart. We believe in and we encourage people to be involved. And so we actually have Erica Buonrostro and Rosa, we're having a conversation. Well, I was having a conversation with Mireya a moment ago. Where is she still in the room or did she leave? Anyhow, but I've worked closely with Mireya and Rosa about all of the things that we need to be doing in Sevier County because of our Latino populations. But when we have that servant attitude, I have Erica Buonrostro, who is in charge of our Center for Student Success, but she spends hours, and Rosa knows her, she spends hours reaching out to the Hispanic community, trying to reach those that need to be reached. Our student ambassadors, we have 13 student ambassadors, 12 of them are Hispanic. By the way, if you didn't know, Sevier County has the highest per capita percentage of Hispanics in the state. Our college is the only Hispanic serving institution in the state of Arkansas. We have 28% Hispanic population. And also, our main feeder school, DeQueen, which is a 5A school in the state of Arkansas, they are 67% Hispanic. And so when we looked at the board, when we looked at the 9 different areas that when someone's hard to reach, there are 9 different categories. We check off 7 of those in Sevier County. And so it's a challenge for us. So leveraging our college resources, knowing that if we build a new hospital, if our count isn't right, we are in trouble because a critical access hospital can barely survive anyhow. And so if you are restricting your funding, it gets worse. And then also we're trying to do a lot of things in Sevier County, economic development projects, and for the past year it's been tremendous in what we're doing down in Southwest Arkansas. But we don't want that to stop because the census comes back and it shows we've lost population. If you look at Sevier County's population of 17,000 at the last census, we knew then that census was off by over 15%. We know that, but we can't prove that. And so this year there is this added urgency to make sure in 2020 that instead of those 17,000, we're going to show that we probably have 20,000 people in Sevier County, and we want that to matter. And so in all the positions I serve, that's why I just texted the Rotary chair just a moment ago while I was sitting over there, and I said, Lisa, I said, you need to get me on the next Rotary Club agenda because I want to speak about this.
I love it.
Because we have to get that word out. So.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much. And turning to you, Steve, talk about how has Magnolia set up a local complete count committee and explicitly what's driving the urgency in Magnolia?
Thank you, Abby. And I would first of all like to say thank you to Complete Arkansas Arkansas Counts Association, Abby and Kara and Rebecca, who I deal with every month on a committee that I serve on with her. But I do appreciate y'all's help with this. Alan Green, who is a partnership specialist who's done 3 census as far as I know. He's probably been involved with the Census Bureau for 30 years. He and I worked in 2010 census, and then we're working on the 2020 census. He's not our partnership specialist now. We have a new one. But he came to Magnolia back in May, and he trained us, did a great training. Is any of y'all know Alan Green out there? Okay, very good. He's here in Little Rock, but anyway, he did a great job. And so we started a complete count committee back in May. And I definitely wanted to have a diversified committee. Our committee is 12 strong. We're in just the city of Magnolia, but you have to understand we're the county seat of Columbia County. Emerson, Taylor, and McNeil are other small communities in the county, and we all help one another best we can. I'm going to speak about Magnolia, but it overlaps into Columbia County quite a bit. One of their complete count committee people that serve on the Columbia County complete count committee is on my committee. But anyway, the mayor serves on our committee, and the mayor is the one who tapped me. I have to give Sarah Kinzer. She's not here right now. I serve on the Arkansas Community Foundation Board, and she's the one who got me involved in census probably a year and a half ago. But and she's pregnant. I hope she's not delivering a baby right now. But anyway, I'll come to the point. Our mayor is on the city complete count committee. One of our other city councilmen. I'm a city councilman on there also. We have faith-based people on there. African American churches are represented there. With a local community foundation is representative, which represents a lot of nonprofits in our community. Higher ed through Southern Arkansas University's on there. Secondary ed, public school people are on there. We have a Chamber of Commerce person. We have an Hispanic representative, and financial institutions are represented. So we have 12 people that meet. We meet every month. We've been usually it's the second Monday. It doesn't really matter when you meet, but we meet, and we've been doing this for about 6 or 7 months now. Anything else?
No,
Okay.
you've actually, in a lovely way, taken us down some of the core partners. And many of you have mentioned in the room who you represent and partners that you're working with. I'd love to turn back to DeQueen for a second for you to talk about locally. Who are some of the unique partners that you have at the table helping with your outreach to hard-to-count communities?
Okay, we have the city of DeQueen, and of course this is, and I'm glad Steve mentioned the other little towns. You know, Sevier County is not just DeQueen. You know, Sevier County has Locksburg and Ben Lomond and Mineral Springs. And when the preacher was mentioning all those little towns across Arkansas, I thought that's kind of cool. And that's the neat thing about Arkansas. If you live in Texas, you really don't know. If someone says, well, where's Mustang, Texas? No one knows. But in Arkansas, if you say, you know, I'm from Pansy, well, you know where that is. You stand around Fordyce, if y'all didn't know that, by the way. But you kind of know where everyone lives in Arkansas. So that now you do. Now you know, if you didn't know where Pansy was. But in DeQueen and Sevier County, you know, we do have a complete count committee. And just like everyone in here does, or you're going to have one, but we have a complete count committee. And on that committee and in the community, it's represented by the city of DeQueen, all of the other little cities that are in Sevier County, the Sevier County judge. There's probably a quorum court member or two somewhere on there. Our K-12 institutions that are in Sevier County, they are partners because if you go back to the hard to count, it's the children. And so the way that we're going to reach them in Sevier County, we're going into the schools. We're going to kindergarten. We're going to go make sure that we count those. But the K-12 institutions, we have Tyson and Pilgrim. We are in DeQueen, in the surrounding area. We have 6 Tyson poultry processing plants within 30 minutes of DeQueen. And then we also have Pilgrim's Pride, which they also process poultry. And so that is a huge industry. And some of the hardest to count come from those industries. And so they are our partners. And then we also have partnered with the Create Bridges program that you've heard of in the state. They've partnered. Also, the local chambers of commerce have partnered. So it is a all-out effort in Sevier County and DeQueen with all these different areas that we want at the table.
Lovely. And, you know, I hope this is sparking for you folks that you maybe haven't thought of locally that you could engage. What about Fort Smith? Who are some of the partners that you all have brought to the table that you think are adding some unique value?
Thank you for the question. In Fort Smith, we have a complete count committee that's comprised of 25 people. We've tapped every section that we could possibly think of. We have the Fort Smith Public School District that sits on our board, on our complete count committee. They have completed a communication plan that outreaches to the entire school district. And then that plan has been duplicated by our private schools, our Montessori schools, and our charter schools. So everyone in the educational arena is sending the same message. Of course, we're using our libraries. All 4 locations will be have kiosks, dedicated kiosks, to assist people with taking the census, those that don't have access to computers or internet. Our hospitals are big advocates and big partners with us. Can you pull up the?
Yeah, Brad, could you click, please?
Our babies, the babies. Are for our babies. So we have partnered with Mercy Fort Smith and also with Baptist Health Fort Smith. And from now until April 1st, every baby that's born in that facility will receive one of these onesies to remind their parents to count them. Because we understand that ages 0 to 5 are very hard to count. So this is just a little message. Hey, you guys, count me. So we are hoping to get this idea across the state because understand that my role not only is the local level for Fort Smith, but also the county level with Sebastian County and also the state of Arkansas. You know, supporting the chair, Mayor McGill. So these are easily duplicated. That's why we did Arkansas at the bottom, so anyone can order them. You find out a medical facility that likes to use those. We're happy to share the design and the printer. Our printer is local, and he's working a really, really good deal for us. Really good deal. We are working with the Chamber of Commerce. They sit on our committee. The Downtown Business Association in Fort Smith, very important. With the chamber is working with the our corporate entities within the city and asking them to have dedicated kiosks at their facilities so employees can take the census on their break time and not have to leave the facilities. We're working with the United Way because the United Way works with the majority of our nonprofits. So that's another way that we're in. We're working with our civic organizations such as Rotary and Noon Exchange, and we're also tapping some of our social clubs. And also another big, big supporter of us is University of Arkansas Fort Smith. Um, so they will be working with us on April 1st to host a Get Out the Count party on campus where we'll have food. We're doing iPads so we can sign people up, door prizes, a big community party just to celebrate all the work that we've done together.
Wonderful. Well, I think that Fort Smith might win the cute award. I mean, that is incredibly adorable. And I'll just make a plug that Arkansas Count serves as the ability to connect you to some of these resources. So as you hear things that are mentioned, or maybe you forget who you should follow up with, Kara, who is here and maybe has stepped out to welcome the governor, can be a source to help ensure that we connect everyone. The other thing I just want to make a plug for is this afternoon, the breakouts. If you're hearing things like messaging and communications and you want to go deeper into some of these ideas, we have a breakout for that. If you want to hear more about setting up a census support site that allows folks to come in and have internet access to fill out the census, you can see and join that breakout session. We have a breakout session for that too. So we talked a little bit about this in describing the outreach and communications, and I want to go a little bit deeper. You talked about hospitals. I'll start with Fort Smith on this question. Tell us about that bus in the parking lot. Like, what are you doing with the bus, and how did that come about?
Okay. So the mobile kiosk was the idea of our deputy city administrator. And really, I think he was joking, to be totally honest. And he threw the idea out there. I was like, I love it. Let's do it. So then I started working on wrap designs and all this other stuff. And he's looking at me going, you're really serious. I'm like, yes, I'm serious. So this is part of our inclusiveness plan. So rather than making people come to us, we are going to them. So we're looking at the Rome map, we're looking at the tracks that were undercounted in 2010, and we're going to them. We are spending time trying to, again, build community and build relationships. So we're attending cultural festivals like Lunar New Year that's coming up. We will be attending. We are sponsoring some of the things. We'll have our census van there. We'll be giving out information. We're hosting Cinco de Mayo celebration. We are doing absolutely everything we can to make our community feel welcome and included, to let them know we're thinking about you. We're cognizant of the things that you're doing. So we want to be a part of it. We're not going to make you come to us. We're going to go to you.
What about messaging in Magnolia? How are you all cultivating your messaging and communication outreach to hard to count populations?
Well, we've identified our hard-to-count people, just like y'all have also, is our Hispanic population, our African-American churches that need to be tapped, under 5, 0 to 5, and our group quarters, which are, the college, nursing homes, homeless shelters, this kind of thing. So what we've done, and we've been involved with this, I guess maybe our first big event was Blue and Gold Day on the square, in which SAU students came to the square in downtown Magnolia, and we had our awareness pieces out there. We've done a lot of this. We started with our county fair back in September, which is another way we, not only Magnolia, but the whole county was involved in that. So we had awareness pieces there. We had volunteers from our committee that sat through that. We've had other events on the square in downtown Magnolia. We're also, let's see, I guess it's Saturday, our local NAACP banquet is for 400 people. We'll have a person there, plus we'll have one of our awareness pieces that will be on the table for each person that attends that. There's been a number of events that we have already tapped into. We're also going to do, I think I may have mentioned this in another meeting, but we have electronic billboards in Magnolia. We'll have messaging on that. Since they cooperate with the City of Magnolia, they've decided to do a PSA for us. So electronic billboards, whether you like them or not, we can use them. A lot of people in Magnolia don't like electronic billboards, but of course we'll be doing PSAs. The Census Bureau has great information, census2020.gov. I mean, if you get on there and sign up for their emails, you get 3 or 4 a day. So they got a lot of information, and we can take those. We've printed stuff from those PSAs. We've also going to do PSAs to the radio station. We don't have a TV station. Some of y'all might not have newspapers anymore. We don't have a newspaper anymore. We get the Zep once a week. So anyway, we'll be doing that kind of information. The hard to count people, particularly the 0 to 5. Is it time for me to quit? That's for you. Time for me. Okay. I'm just going to say, in particularly the children hard to 0 to 5, we've identified Magnolia Specialized Services, our I guess our pre-K. I'm just now talking to this pre-K people. We've got identified awareness pieces that will go. They've all agreed to do it. We put flyers in there. We put little cards that will go home with the kids, that kind of thing. So,
thank you. Turning back to DeQueen, Dr. Cole, can you talk a little bit more, very briefly, about how you're localizing your messaging? You mentioned the hospital, but exactly how are you taking that localized message to the community?
Well, I want to take a page out of Mayor McGill. I just want Mayor McGill to come to our town and give the same presentation he gave just a minute ago, because it's impressive. But we're actually speaking in those types of those terms, because what we're doing, and when we're trying to reach out, and some of the hardest to count in our area are Hispanics, and we have people like Mireya and Rosa, and we have people with the coalition that are helping with that. But to localize it, we are going to them. We're going to the churches, because that is a really nice gathering place. And we are saying about the same things the mayor said. We're letting them know, we're getting ready to build a new hospital. You want that to succeed, right? I mean, we all voted for the tax. This is how we can guarantee that. You all wanted, you said that you wanted better education in our area. This is how you do that. You wanted our economy to keep growing, and we keep receiving grant funds, and that's how we're localizing. We're taking it right down, and again, it's the same thing that Mayor McGill said. We're saying, if you care about that, you need to fill out the census.
And a plug for a breakout, because we have a breakout for that. Hillary Trudell from The Yarn is here with us and is part of one of the breakout sessions. If you want technical assistance to help figure out the it in your community, and how to tell that story, go to that breakout session. It's an opportunity. I'm going to now ask Sarah to stand. She's got a microphone. Do you all have questions for this panel? And I'll ask if you would, as you grab the mic, say your name and where you're from.
Hello. Tamaritis Baker from Arkansas Community Action Agency. So my question for you guys is, I hear that you're going out to all these different events and sessions for people, but what are you individually doing to reach the people that don't feel like they should be doing it, to break down those silos and the judgments? Like, what are you doing there? Because those people may not go to church, they might not be going to the hospitals, they may not be going to the events that you guys have. So what's some guidance along those lines?
Let me just say one thing about the Latino Hispanic community. That's a very good question for us. Yes, we can go to the Catholic Church there. They do have their own mass, and we can provide information to them. We can speak to them in church. Father Wills allowed us to do that. We've also had a good suggestion from our Hispanic representative on our committee that we have 7 Mexican restaurants in town. I don't know, Mexican restaurants seem to be pretty big in South Arkansas. But anyway, go to those restaurants and speak to the workers there. Yes, we're hearing stories about Hispanic folks not, and a lot of those aren't in Magnolia. They may be out in the county, which still we want to try to help the county. But it's hard to find those people. So it is a very difficult task. That's the one area I'm really afraid of in Magnolia.
Others thoughts about how are you actually reaching people that may not be in some of the places like the county fair or the faith community? Go ahead, Fort Smith.
So I'll say in Fort Smith, our yard signs are, Brad, can we get our yard signs? So in Fort Smith, we are producing yard signs. So we have the You Matter movement going on in Fort Smith. So these signs just started popping up that said You Matter. And people became curious because there was nothing online, there was no information anywhere, so word of mouth. Everybody just started talking. Where's this sign coming from? Who's doing this? What does this mean? So we're hoping that we'll have the same effect with the yard signs for the census. When we start to put those out, that people will begin to ask questions and talk to their neighbors. We're also doing decals for our city vehicles and decals, Brad? Yeah, okay. These are our vehicle decals which look just like our yard signs, but we're placing them on our city vehicles. Our sanitation trucks are bright blue. So this is going to stick out, and somebody's going to see that and go, what was that I just saw? Our street trucks are yellow. This is going to stick out. Again, what was that? So we're really depending upon word of mouth. And then we have this great little component going on in Fort Smith in social media, Facebook. There are several forums that have been set up by our community members. Fort Smith Residents Forum, The Hard Truth About Fort Smith. So we're hoping that those individuals will catch on and start asking questions and spread the word for us.
Fort Smith has great ideas, and you guys are certainly implementing it. Who is paying for those decals? Who's paying for those signs? Where's the money coming from?
Great question.
Amen. God bless you. So, as far as the graphic design is concerned, graphic design has been donated by my husband. So all the graphic designs that you see, including the shirt that I have on, was donated by my husband. Him and I sat down and talked together. And I want to tell you a little bit of the significance behind this shirt. In the city of Fort Smith, we speak 59 different languages in our public school district.
Wow.
Right? So that's a lot of kids going home to talk to parents that don't speak English as their first language. So we wanted to represent them, or some of them, because we couldn't get all 59 on here. We have 21. But represent some of them to let them know that we understand and that you count. Now, you have to understand that some of the other languages, when you translate what we say in English, it doesn't translate the way that we say it. So we say everyone counts, but in Arabic it says you are important. In Hebrew it says you're important. So that's how it translates to them. But again, the message is you count, you are important, you are a part of our community, we need you.
So you have some donated resources.
So we have donated resources, which has been great. We did receive a grant from Arkansas Counts, which took care of the wrapping for our bus, and also we're running 3 PSAs. We're in the part of recording right now. We are actually out asking community partners to fund some of our stuff. So as far as the onesies were concerned, when it was presented to the to the CEOs, and they said, "Oh, we like it," it was like, "Okay, well, this is how much it's going to cost. This is what we can do. This is what we can do from a city perspective to help, but this is what it is." So a lot of them were like, "Oh, we want to do our part, so we'll catch the cost for you."
So I'm curious, in DeQueen, how are you all paying for the work and efforts of your committee?
It's volunteer and donation.
Yep.
I mean, we didn't get a grant, but the college, we own 2 radio stations. So we're leveraging that to run PSAs. We have another local radio station that broadcasts in English and Spanish. We ask for that. We do ask for help from the newspaper, although it's only running once a week now, and I don't know how long that's going to last. But anyhow, but we're doing that. But what we're getting ready to do, I was talking to Erica Buenrostro last week, because in preparing for this, I told her, "You need to go to this thing," but she said, "No, I can't. I have something to do." But she said, just to let you know, that when it comes to the Hispanics in our community, they tend to live in a very large block that we can get to. They're not spread everywhere across the county, and so we actually are going with volunteer labor. A lot of them are students at our college. We are actually going to go door to door, and to try to help alleviate some of that fear, to try to reach everyone. And then, because the census starts April 1st, and then they start on May 1st trying to clean up and trying to reach those that have not responded, as part of something we have every year on the courthouse square. And it used to be on our college campus, but last year we moved it to downtown DeQueen. It's called Fiesta Fest. It's always the Saturday before Cinco de Mayo. And at that, we're going to have kiosks set up because it is very well attended. And so between door to door, all volunteer labor, and then between the Fiesta Fest, which is all volunteer labor, that's how we're reaching out.
No, and that's a really good question. I've got time for one more question. I will just put a plug that we have a breakout for that, is canvassing and door-to-door organizing. So if you want to know more about the best way to be efficient and think creatively in your community about that door-to-door outreach, please go to that breakout session. I will put in a cautious note that I am thrilled that the Census Bureau reflects that they will go door to door and follow up with people who don't complete their census. Their budget is also, in reality, pretty cut. And so depending on that door-to-door outreach may be something that you don't want to risk. So it is incredibly important that we in this room do that type of outreach and not put all of our eggs in one basket, that every single person that didn't complete the form the first time will get a personal touch. So I have one more question over here before I break us for lunch.
Hi, Abby. My name is Sam Abbasi. I am the partnership coordinator from the U.S. Census Bureau that represents the great state of Arkansas. And I am absolutely thrilled about this summit. It is extremely impressive and very informative. This panel, in terms of the ideas that you've shared, are fantastic ideas, that many of which have not been shared outside of the state. So you are pioneers in that regard. The reason that I wanted to speak at the urging of Mayor McGill as well is I wanted you all to know that the Census Bureau is also here to help. Now, you folks know that from all the work that you've been doing thus far, but come February 1st, the Census Bureau is going to be rolling out a national awareness campaign. This national awareness campaign is going to take advantage of all medias: radio, television, print, obviously social media. There are over 1,000 creatives that have been created for this campaign, and if you were to watch them or read them end to end, it would take you over 6 hours to do that. There's 150 commercials that are going to start broadcasting nationally, 220 radio spots. You might actually have been hearing some radio spots here for the recruiting opportunities, which we strongly suggest that you continue to promote among your communities. We're going to have billboards, bus shelters, even at gas stations. But recruiting, folks, is absolutely critical. Abby, you were referring to the point just a moment ago about how the Census Bureau are great stewards of the federal taxpayer dollars, and we do have a budget that is less than it was for the last decennial. Of course, encouraging your communities to self-respond online, which is the first time in census history that is being offered, very confidential, very secure, of course, but also with the traditional paper form that will be mailed out to households, as well as being able to call in to the Census Bureau and have the responses taken that way. For the individuals, for the households that have not responded using those mediums, the enumerators, the door knockers, the census takers will be mobilized. Our responsibility, as is our shared mission, is to count everyone once, only once, and in the right place. But if they don't respond, we're going to go out and ask them to respond. And these are the individuals that are hired in the areas, in the counties that they live in. These are people that live and work in Arkansas. So they are going to be the enumerators. They are the trusted voices, so that when somebody knocks on their door, it might be a familiar face,
Right.
and they would answer the survey.
And you're still hiring,
you.
right?
Pardon
Yep,
me?
and you're still hiring.
That is correct. We are vigorously hiring.
That's
so,
right. So if for those of you in the room that know individuals in your community looking for those types of positions, we encourage you to visit and learn more about that. I'd like to move us now to a final thought from each of our panelists. If you have a parting piece of advice for folks in the room, and then I will give some instructions about lunch. Let's start with.
Okay, thanks, Abby. Let me just tag on to what people have said up here is that we have a very good mayor in Magnolia. I voted for him. He is, when you ask the question how we fund ours, I didn't get to answer that one, but he's been kind enough to find about $10,000 from our budget that can be used for this. Now, a lot of our expense so far has just been printing, getting that out. So we've had to cut a pretty good deal with one of our printers to get that done. Another thing I'd like to mention about our mayor is that he's also allowed for all city water bills. So this will go to every household in the city of Magnolia to have a message on there. And it started this month. It'll go through April. That Census Day is coming. Be sure to respond to the census. So that's another good suggestion. They're all going to get a water bill, even if it's a renter. So that's another thing. And finally, I'd like to say that in Magnolia, it means about $180,000 a year in state turnback. That supports our fire and police and schools, and so that's why it's important to Magnolia.
So thank you, appreciate that. Leverage the folks within arm's reach. Is that what I'm hearing? Parting thought.
Sure. One, don't reinvent the wheel. Use what's out there. There's lots of stuff out there. Stay consistent and persistent. You may think that people aren't listening to you, but they are. This affects us all. We are in this together. An undercount for any of our population is an undercount for all of our population. We are our brother's keeper.
Love it. Thank you. Parting thought, Dr. Cole?
Yeah, and this is something that I tried to apply when I was in the legislature, and I try to apply when I'm running the college or no matter what I'm doing. And I call it and you've heard of it, I'm sure. It may be tired to y'all, but I call it the MSN. And when it comes to the census, when you look at the MSN method, there are things that you must have, there are things that you should have, and then there are things that are nice to have. And you have to decide. The census falls into the must. I mean, the whole state, not just our local communities, but the entire state. This is not a nice thing. This is not a should thing. This is a must thing that we all have to do.
Thank you. Would you all join me in thanking the panelists for sharing their stories? Thank you so much. So, as we move to lunch, couple of reminders. This is your last opportunity to grab a recording or share on social media to get yourself a raffle ticket. We will draw at the end of lunch. We are going to start with the table in the very back, right here with Emily, and yes, hands raised. And our lunch is out in the atrium, and we do need to be quite speedy because we have Mayor Scott and the governor joining us at a very explicit time. So I'm going to encourage you to get your food and come back to your seat for that. And I'll ask that table to start us, and those of you in subsequent tables to just flow through the room and you can go down. Thank you all, and I will reconvene us shortly.
occasion today. May we all bow our heads. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the time, the talents, and the service of all the people who are gathered here today. To be on one accord, to make sure everyone is represented not only in the city of Little Rock, but this entire state. That we commit to the count, that we complete the count, because we understand representation truly matters in this city. We thank you for the food that's been prepared. We thank you for the servers. We thank you for this great institution that we are here today. Please allow us to do all we can for you. I pray in the name of Jesus Christ, other praise in the name of their respective gods. Amen. Amen. Now I have the esteemed honor to introduce someone that I've known for quite some time. I've known him as a friend. I've known him as a banker. I've known him as a highway commissioner. And I have the esteemed honor now to know him as a man of faith, as well as the mayor of Little Rock. This man hails from northwest Arkansas. I still remember maybe this small town called Gravette, Arkansas. And so many times they say, what good could come out of Gravette? But they've shown some good things that have come from this great city of Gravette, Arkansas. A man that has served this state and our nation with distinct honor. A man that is committed to education and higher education in this entire state to move us forward, who's committed to economic growth. Someone who's had steadfast leadership, someone who's shown us to show what steadfast stewardship truly means in a nation that truly needs to see the example of what's going on in Arkansas. And that comes from committed leadership. And so I introduce to some and to all our governor, Governor Asa Hutchinson.
What a great mayor. Yeah, give Mayor Frank Scott another round of applause. And it's really exciting for me to be able, as governor, to work with a mayor who understands economic development, who is there whenever we're needed, and we work together in partnership. And I love all the leadership that he's provided. And then thank you. We have a couple different committees, I think, that are represented here in different ways, all engaged in the interest of the United States Census. And, of course, we have the State Complete Count Committee, and I'm delighted to see former Representative George McGill, now Mayor of Fort Smith, here. Where's George? Mayor McGill, thank you for your leadership. And we have a number of other members of the Complete Count Committee that's here, that's given of their time, whether it's county judges, mayor that we see, county clerks, but also representative of different parts of our community that's important to be engaged in making sure everybody is counted. Now, Mayor Scott mentioned that I hail from Gravette, Arkansas. Well, everybody comes from somebody, somewhere. And you remember your days in school, and very simple, we go into class, and today is probably electronic, but the teacher would simply call the roll, and whenever they're finished calling the roll, what do they say? Have I missed anyone? Right? And you think about how fundamental and simple counting is. But in our society, we like to count everything. But all the time that you conduct a counting, at the end you say, have I missed anyone? And those words are important for us today as we look at a constitutional responsibility to carry out the United States Census. And so each of you are engaged in something that has lasted in our country for more than 200 years, that is set forth in our United States Constitution as a responsibility. And so before there was technology, before there was digital transformation, before we had all the federal money that is allocated out, our founding fathers said, let's count it. Let's make sure we count every 10 years our population in the United States. And just think about how difficult it was there with Daniel Boone moving all over the place. I mean, it was hard to count them back then, but somehow they got it done, and people participated in it. And so thank you for serving Arkansas and the United States and being a part of history and taking the census that's been accomplished for more than 200 years. The information you collect is very important for Arkansas in so many different ways. Most importantly is the allocation of fair representation in the political process. We're going to go through an exercise that we do every 10 years, which is to reapportion or make new districts for our state Senate races, our state legislative races, and our congressional seats. And the census will determine how those are divided and to make sure that we have the fundamental principle of one person, one vote, and adequate and fair representation. I know that there are other states that are concerned about losing population, or at least losing a percent of the population, which means they will lose part of their federal delegation and their congressional seats. Because we know that Florida is growing, Texas is growing, and they're going to gain more congressional seats. We only have 435. So where are they going to come from? They're going to come from some other states that are going to lose representation. Now, I remember back in the, maybe I don't remember, maybe I studied this from history, back in the 50s and 60s, that Arkansas lost population, and we used to have, how many congressional seats do we have now? 4. How many did we used to have? 6. Who said 6 over? 6. We had 6. Not that you remember that. We had 6. And because of other states growing faster than Arkansas, are we losing population? We are now at 4. The other interesting fact is the shift in population. I do remember the old 3rd Congressional District that was represented by Congressman John Paul Hammerschmidt. And whenever I first got involved in the political arena, his district went from northwest Arkansas, Bentonville, Rogers area, down to DeQueen. DeQueen. DeQueen used to be in the 3rd Congressional District. And because of population shift, that district has shrunk. And so you can see the importance from a federal representation standpoint, how important the counting is. And then, of course, everybody thinks about dollars. And whether you're a city, or whether you are a county, or whether you are the state, or whether you're simply a program, the allocation of federal dollars in many different arenas is established by the census count and what those census numbers represent. A simple variation of 1% in an accurate count in our population could cost Arkansas nearly $1 billion over the next decade. Now, I'm pretty good at math, so that's $100 million a year. And so that's a lot of money that is at stake in the work that we get done. And so we have fewer than 90 days to prepare to count Arkansas. And although April 1 is officially Census Day, the 2020 count will begin next Tuesday when Census Bureau Director Stephen Dillingham travels to Toksook Bay, Alaska, to count the first person. Toksook Bay is a remote fishing village on the Bering Sea. The Bureau is starting there in January because the ground will still be frozen. And travel to Toksook Bay and other remote villagers will be impossible later. And so they start when the ground's frozen. The count in Toksook Bay symbolizes the Census Bureau's commitment to count every person in the United States. Now, Arkansas has places that will allow the Census Bureau to demonstrate its commitment to count. Shelby Johnson is here, who's Director of Geographic Information Systems Services in the state of Arkansas, Vice Chair of our Complete Count Committee. And we asked him, what is the most difficult area of Arkansas to make sure we can have a count? Now, he's not politically sensitive, so he actually answered that question. If you would have asked me that question, I'm not going to pinpoint somebody that is remote in the state of Arkansas. But he did pinpoint some place that was remote, that might be hard to make sure that we get every isolated community that would be counting. And so you have to ask yourselves the question, though, why in this constitutional exercise, why in this that is so important to Arkansas in our representation and in our federal dollars that are returned, why would someone not participate in the census? Now, I just outlined about 3 reasons. One is that it takes too much time. Now, the census team has done a good job in trying to simplify the census and to make sure that it doesn't overly take the time of those that are filling it out. And so we've got to overcome that obstacle, though. We got to make sure it's efficient, and one of the reasons is they're doing some of this online. The second reason that they might not be counted is simply because they don't know about it and they don't make the effort. Well, thank goodness the federal government is spending, I think it's about $500 million in an advertising campaign that will begin soon that will cover, I think it's 98% of the population in terms of making sure that everyone is aware of the census and that we're doing this and that they need to be counted. But we have to work in those isolated areas particularly, or those that are busy in their life and do not follow the news, that this is ongoing, it's a responsibility, and we need to complete it. And then the third reason that some people might not participate in the census is fear. You know, it's fear that perhaps will be a misuse of the information. They don't trust the federal government. And so we have to be able to work one-on-one in those difficult communities and give them confidence and assurance that they do not need to fear. And so that is really what I think the fundamental responsibility of those in this room is, to make sure that everybody understands the facts, because the greatest antidote to fear is truth. Amen? And so we get them the facts, we try to give them confidence, and we overcome that. Now, this is a very important year for Arkansas for the census, because just in the last couple years, for the first time in the history of Arkansas, we passed the 3 million mark in population. I like when a state is growing. One of my goals is to grow Arkansas, and to grow us in terms of job creation, but also simply in terms of population. And we have a lot of people that have moved into Arkansas. And we actually did a study as to actually the states that have more in-migration than out-migration. And we all have kids, and we know that when kids get their education, they like to travel a little bit, and so we have out-migration. Then you measure the in-migration for those kids that are coming back to Arkansas. And our in-migration is exceeding our out-migration, and we're growing as a state. I'm also actually concentrating on that effort. We recruited one business to Conway, DXC Technologies Company. They are located there, the old Hewlett-Packard Enterprises. They had about 400 employees. We made an announcement that this global company chose Arkansas to expand their workforce by 1,200 over the next 3 years. These are all technology jobs. The CEO is from London, England, of this business sector. And he came in for the announcement. I asked him 2 questions. I said, first, why did you pick Arkansas to do the expansion? You have many different choices. And his answer was, well, because you have a computer science initiative that's leading the nation. You're creating a talent pool of people that can work in software development and digital skills. So we got the pipeline for talent. We like that. And then he also, talked about our workforce in general. He talked about what we're doing in higher education. Then I asked him the question, though. I said, of the 1,200 new employees at DXC Technology, how many of those will be coming from out of state? And you think as governor, oh, you want to create all the jobs here. Well, I do, and I want to get jobs. I like, though, for people to be selected because of their talent and what they're needed in that enterprise, and they moved to Arkansas. His answer was 40% of the 1,200 new workers will come from out of state. That is 480. And that's 480 that will be buying homes, that will be buying groceries, that will be paying more taxes to support our education, and they will contribute to our economy in this state. I love that balance. Now, our question to those 480 employees over the next few years, have you been counted? Did we miss anybody? We want to count everybody. And so it's new residents, it's those that have been brought here over the last few years, and we're counting on you to help us to make sure that everybody is counted. And I look at the advertising campaign at the federal level that I think will be comprehensive. And our work is really community to community, group to group, and to encourage them to be a part of the count and make sure they outreach. So ours is sort of a grassroots effort here in Arkansas. I solicit your support for it. I know you recognize how important it is. You're giving of your time and energy. So thank you for making sure that Arkansas has a complete count and that we reap the benefits from that complete count as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Governor Hutchison and Mayor Scott. If you will, let's take a few minutes and go ahead and finish your lunch. I'll do the drawing in just a moment. So this is literally your last opportunity to post on social media and grab a raffle ticket or do a quick video in the back. And I'll come back up in about 5 minutes to tell you about our breakouts. You do.
Here's your other tickets, Madeline. We can play it now. We just didn't have time in it like before, but we can play it now. The Reagan video.
You want me to play it now, or you want me to wait and like use it as my way to bring people back together?
Yeah, yeah.
I'll give folks a second.
Thank you.
You got it. I figure you know what you're doing. I'm gonna not touch it.
Yeah, no, that's why I'm like, yeah.
Oh yeah.
But you know what?
Hey, Jay, how you doing? How's basketball? Doing all right, man? You've been on there.
Oh, yeah. But now it's like, yeah, now it's more like a daily occurrence. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.